All right, so I'm here with the titanium trainer. We're about to take it out and do its maiden flight. This aircraft has not flown at all, not even a trim flight or anything. So first time taking it up. So the first maiden flight with the first aircraft did not go so well last time. I crashed it on the maiden flight. For setup, what I'm running is a Spectrum AR8010 receiver. I don't need an 8-channel receiver, but you know, I like to put them in there. This has got the telemetry wire right here, which I've got running under the floor and around and back up to the battery lead right here. Flying it on 6S, a 3300. This is one of my T-Rex helicopter batteries. Build went really good. I did a build video. It's not really a build video. You don't really build this airplane, you more put it together. But I went with the Spectrum setup. Let's just take a quick look at what we're doing for rates here. So for dual rates and expos for the maiden flight, I've got the aileron really conservative.
High rates, low rates.
Really conservative settings. I'm going to start off at the low rates. So I'm only moving the control surfaces, and we'll look at the aileron. So if you look at the shape of the wing, it's raising up to, I've got the elevator set at 70% so that it raises to approximately the height of the wing. This is actually just a little bit less than the height of the wing, because my goal is just to take this airplane up and trim it out and get it around the pattern today. I'm not going to be doing anything crazy with it. This is just a maiden flight. I just want to get it trimmed and fly it around a little. So I've got the travel set at 70%, and I've got the expo set way up at 55%, which is pretty high. And so when I move my sticks, you can see the response from the elevator is pretty slow, you know. But then if I go to 100%, bam, it gives it to me. So I got the expo set at 55, the travel limited to 70% for low rates. Probably going to fly it just in low rates and nothing else. That's how I've got the radio set up. 25.2 volts. I've got the telemetry set up, but I've just got it giving me readings every 30 or I think 60 seconds. And I'm not going to push it. I'll probably just do a 4 or 5 minute flight. I don't really need the telemetry today. All right, so I've got hold set up.
Normal mode.
Now it's in normal. Looks good. Elevators going left, going right. Our rudder, elevator, going up, going down. Ailerons, push left. Left rises, so should be good to go there. Hold off, here we go. Wow, it's took right off. I don't really notice any real adjustments that need to be made right away. It's not really rolling or anything. All the movements, oh yeah, it's got to be, it's nose heavy. Definitely nose heavy.
4.3 volts.
It wants to drop if I let it. To trim that way for some reason.
Flight pack 24.1 volts.
So I'm just having to give it elevator because it's wanting to drop in the nose. And for some reason my trim button is not cooperating. So I'm just gonna do a correction with the stick for now, and just see if I can just do a couple passes. I don't need any aileron or rudder changes. Really a good handling airplane.
Flight pack 23.5 volts.
So 23.5 volts, still got tons of power. Of course, I'm not flying it very hard. Yeah, it's wanting to drop in the nose even if I pick the speed up. I like the settings, the 55%, 70% travel and 55% expo. For a trim flight, for a maiden, those are good settings. I bet you this aircraft is much more capable in the 3D department with those settings more aggressive. And there's that corner there that I crashed the first one in. Kind of stubborn and didn't want to give up. So went out and put together the exact same airplane and got back out here. And well, I crashed it in my second loop last time. This one seems to be handling great. Now, the last one I didn't have any handling issues. I'm almost positive the issue I had there was I was banking the airplane right there and I crossed through the sun and I lost perspective of the aircraft for a minute. And I was actually banking it while I was flying through the sun. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a truck driving over there. So we're going to cut this approach a little short because I don't want to fly over that person.
Flight pack 23.4 volts.
So 23.4 volts, and I've been flying for 5 minutes. So definitely, if you're just pitching it around the pattern, the 6S 3300 is going to get you really good flight time. Now, I would say just above stall speed for most of this flight. So there is 6 minutes. I'm not doing like a high-speed pass right now. Well, maybe I'll do one. Maybe I'll do one right now. Because I've got an elevator that needs to be trimmed.
23.1 volts.
And I cannot explain why this trim button is not working. There's full throttle. Whew, it's pretty quick. I'm gonna bring it in. Taxi's great. Really taxi's good.
23.3 volts.
Oh, okay. Well, this is why it wasn't giving me any more trim. I'm already trimmed all the way. Now, if we take a look at the elevator I think I had this set up kind of wrong, kind of off. I'm gonna make a mechanical change because I've got 100% negative trim on it, and really now it's more even with the control surface. So I'm gonna put this back to 0 and probably adjust it to this point with the control rod change, and that should, well, actually I'll probably give it just a little bit of up because it still needs it, and I'd like to be this to be close to 0. But there it is, the titanium trainer on its maiden flight. Flew it for 7 minutes, and I'm still at, I think it's 22 volts, so tons of power.
23.4 volts.
23.4 volts. So if you're flying just above stall speed with this thing, which I wasn't going to do too much high speed or any kind of real big maneuvers when I have trim issues, I still need to work, you can easily get 10 to 12 minutes out of a 6S 3300 on this, flying conservatively like that, without a problem. And I would recommend those settings for your maiden flight. Those are really good. The first maiden flight I took it on, I only had 20% expo and 80% travel, and it rolled faster than I expected over in that corner, and I was doing it right while it was passing through the sun. I lost control of the airplane and crashed it. So with your dual rates, I would recommend an aileron setting of 70% travel and 55% expo. Made it real friendly to fly around out there. I didn't have any lack of capability though. I mean, it was still very controllable. All right, so I just wanted to come back and show you guys this real quick. I pulled the trim out of this remote, and check out this elevator. I mean, I screwed this up. This is giving downward force when it's not trimmed. So I didn't do a very good job setting up this elevator. The only thing I can think is that this trim was already down a lot and I didn't notice it when I set the airplane up. I think that's what happened. So not a big deal. All I need to do is loosen this set screw and let this control rod come through a little bit, and this will be right up here, and then I should be able to just tweak it on the next flight and get it to be nice and straight. And hopefully in the future we'll have some more aggressive flights doing some more aggressive maneuvers with this thing. But so far, great airplane, performs totally as advertised. The tail wheel turns with the rudder, taxis like great. My battery draw for a 7-minute flight was only left me at 24 volts on the battery. Is like it drew next to nothing. Now I was only flying just above stall speed, so that explains that. You're gonna draw more than that normally. And there it is, the titanium trainer. All right, so I'm back with the titanium trainer here for flight 2. I think what the problem was on the previous one that I had added a bunch of trim to the elevator, and when I bound this one, I didn't remove the trim. So I didn't have really any trim left to use. So when I subtracted all the trim out of that channel, boy, there was a ton of adjustment. It brought, it was way off. So I put it back to 0 and I lined it up perfectly, and then I gave it just a little bit of up trim, which I'll probably have to take out, but I'd rather it trimmed up a little. I'm gonna check the CG too. I think the CG's good. I mean, I'm right in that main weight of the wing, and it's perfectly level. I think the CG's fine. It was just the elevator. So here we go, flight 2. Should probably turn hold off. Oh yeah, I think jumps right off the ground. We got a pretty stiff wind going, unfortunately. Oh yeah, I can already tell that this thing is much better. Yeah, no, I'm not touching the controls at all, and it's pretty much straight and level. What a difference. Yeah, Okay. So I'm zero throttle here. Whoop. Zero throttle, coasting in. I'm going into the wind, so it's losing speed pretty quickly. We've got a pretty stiff wind going, so I don't want to get it too low. Wow, is it windy? It is throwing this little, it's throwing this plane around, and it's got pretty good size. I love the size of it. Very visible. I blame myself 100% for the other one crashing it. Absolutely, totally my fault. And it's was a bad technique to begin with. Doing control surface changes while flying through the direct sunlight. So you can see how this thing's getting just thrown around a little bit in this wind, because it is, unfortunately, it's a very windy day. So I'd like to bring it down nice and slow. Oh, look at that, I almost rolled it over. Wow, that wind is just brutal. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of days to get out and fly, and this is what I got. I also feel like, you know, that's what this trainer plane to me is for, is getting out here and flying in some of the worst conditions, you know, some of the not so great conditions, so you can, you know, makes you a better pilot. Fortunately, I don't want to bring it in too low. So again, my settings are still 70% travel and 55% expo, and I tell you, I really like it for pattern flying. I'm gonna try to do a loop here, and we'll see how I like it. I'll tell you, it was good enough for a loop.
3.2 volts.
I mean, that's 70% travel, and that was a pretty tight loop. It's funny how those clouds can make you sort of lose perspective for a moment. Wow, look at that wind! I've almost got it stopped. Okay, so full throttle, and I'm just gonna pull elevator. That's with 70% travel and 55 expo. It's doing that. So if you're looking to maiden this thing, you can be very comfortable that with 70% travel and even probably 65% expo, you're going to have no issues controlling this airplane. And you know, it's the sticks are going to be a little friendlier for test flying it. Wow, the wind is really throwing it around. The sticks are going to be a little friendlier for test flying it with that high expo. It's at 55%, and you can see I just did a loop with it with no problem. So I think the first one that I crashed, number one, I was doing a hard banking turn right through the direct sunlight was the first problem. And the second problem was that I had 85% movement on the elevator, and I only had 20% expo. And so that made this aircraft roll pretty quickly. So I got it into a position where I couldn't see it in the sun. I couldn't keep perspective of where the wings were, and it rolled faster than I was expecting it to roll, and that's how I crashed it. So I decided to reduce the travel from 85 to 70, and I took the expo from 20 to 55, and I'm really happy with those settings for now. Now that was about half throttle. That was about half throttle.
Flight pack 22.7 volts.
22.7. So the alarm is going off. That's the 6-minute alarm. But I'm at 22.7 volts. We're not stopping. We're gonna do some more flying. I'm gonna try to bring it by a little bit lower. All right, so that's about half throttle. This is full throttle, and watch, we'll do a loop here. Elevator on, full percent. Okay, and it just did a loop, and I want to say 20 feet of airspace. So those settings, 70% and 55 expo, are going to leave you with plenty of room. And I'll tell you what, if you're really looking to just maiden it and really just put it around the pattern, 65% travel, 65% travel, and 70% expo would probably be fine. I don't think that's gonna hurt you at all, and that's gonna make the aircraft, you know, a little less touchy. It's pretty touchy. I mean, with full rates, it's really, it rolled in that corner much faster than I was expecting it to. And like, it was terrible. That was right the moment that I was flying through the sun. I lost perspective, and it was like 1 minute the aircraft was going into the turn and everything was fine. Then I lost perspective for a moment, and then when I got perspective back, it was upside down and heading towards the ground. It was like, oh God. So that's just a kind of slow pass. You can see even the wind is rocking these wings around.
22.5 volts.
22.5 volts. So that was about a mid-throttle pass. I'm pretty comfortable with the way these controls are. So I'm gonna go ahead, see if I can work it through a high-speed pass here. I'm not gonna go any lower than that. Yeah, I'm not gonna go any lower than that. You know, the faster it's going, the more it's reacting to the wind. But you could, that was a high-speed pass there. Let's roll it. No problem with a roll. Either, oh yeah, no problem there. Now this 8010 receiver has no gyro, you know, no 3-axis type of thing going on.
Flight pack 22.3 volts.
22.3 volts, and I believe, yeah, I'm at 9 minutes. So this receiver is just straight up controls, you know, no AS3X or anything going into the wind here on the elevator. I mean, it just did a loop in probably 20 feet of airspace at 3/4 throttle, no problem. Yeah, I think it flies great. If I had a critique, if I had something negative to say, which I think, you know, whenever you're gonna consider an airplane, to me, you have to consider price and what you're paying for. For the price, I'm 100% satisfied. If I had a critique, you know, the body of the airplane is basically has like no shape at all. It's like a coffin with wings. And I think
22.1 volts.
22.1 volts. I think that makes it fly a little, you know, it's not as smooth in the air. But for what you pay, I'm happy with it. I'm not complaining about it. Especially considering the size. So for the price tag, I got the airplane for $350, and that was just needed a receiver. Motor installed, speed control installed, servos installed, control surfaces connected, assembled, coated, just basically add a receiver, plug and play type of thing, and go.
Flight pack 21.9 volts.
Oh man, yanking and banking it a little bit, and I'll tell you, it's pretty responsive. But anyways, for this size of an aircraft, I think for that price, I paid $350 for it. I think it's a great deal. I think it's a good trainer. That's about half throttle right there, right? So here's full throttle right now. And just flew a loop. I'm gonna go ahead and land it. I haven't got a battery report in a minute.
Flight pack 21.5 volts.
21.5, that's not too low, but I'm gonna go ahead and land it anyways. I feel like it's got a little bit less power than it did when I took off. I'm gonna go ahead and land it. Do a little air taxiing. Whoa, 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 whoa. Not a very good landing. All right, well, the tail wheel's still working. That's a good sign. Whoa, whoa. Ooh, easy.
Flight pack 21.
So there it is, titanium trainer. That was the second flight, and got out and flew some loops, flew some rolls, flying it on a 3,000 milliamp battery. That battery is sitting pretty much right up to the front of this little sort of battery tray. You see it there. And that was a Turnigy battery. 70 to 150C battery, so pretty good battery. Let's pull it and see what we got. So I've got this timer set for 6 minutes. So we flew it for 13 minutes. Let's take a look. Let's clear. Yeah, 6 and then 7, so yeah, 13 minutes. Now granted, that was pretty easy most of the flight. You know, I wasn't out there wailing on it. Flight pack, no data. All right, so this battery is just slightly warm. We got 13 minutes of flight time in the wind. I'm a little nervous. Yeah, 7%. That's pretty low. 7%, but 3.5 volts per cell. And you can see all the cells are really close. So, I would say 10 minutes is probably the best, you know, a better spot to fly it to. 10 minutes is better. This is kind of neat. You can actually see these cells recovering and the voltage coming back up. But there it is, titanium trainer. I'm happy with it. I thought it flew really well. I recommend those radio settings to just take it out and test fly it. Make sure you got everything going right. 70% on the travel. And actually, let's take a look at these radio settings here. Aileron is 70% travel, 55% expo. Elevator is 70% travel, 55% expo, and rudder is 75% travel, 0 expo. I usually don't put any expo on the rudder. I like rudder authority. So those are the settings that I use, and I'm super happy with it. I mean, I'll probably up them at some point. I'll take some of that expo out, but it flies pretty well. I can always just flip it, you know, flip to mid rates. So mid rates I have for the elevator. See, it keeps travel at 70 and goes down to 40% expo.
High rate.
High rates is going to give me 80% of travel and 30% expo. So I'll start playing with these rates in the next couple of flights. But the 70 and 55 I thought was very good for the maiden and the second flight. Second flight, I had the trim issue all nailed out. I didn't need to trim it at all, so I got to focus on just throwing it around a little. But definitely a great little airplane. Flew great out here. I mean, you can see how windy it is. This thing's about to take off without moving. And I'm happy with it. All right, so just want to do a little post-flight with the titanium trainer here. So I flew its first 3 flights today, its maiden flight. When we took it out on the maiden, it needed elevator trim. And I kind of caught that I had made a mistake, and I had a lot of elevator trim already in it when I binded the remote. So I didn't have any trim left. So I had to just correct it for the whole flight and then land it. And then I just took the trim out of the remote, and my solution, you know, this is the elevator servo here. Rather than screw around with the control arm, I just unscrewed the head and just put it 1 gear back, and that fixed that, you know, perfectly reset the trim. And this still has plenty of travel back and forth. So I just moved the servo horn 1 gear back, and that fixed that problem. So the second flight I recorded. The first flight I flew 13 minutes. I don't recommend it. That battery was at about 8%, 7 or 8%. Although it was showing 3.5 volts for cell, so I'm not concerned that it's ruined. But I wouldn't recommend 13 minutes. I changed the timer to 10 minutes, and I flew this battery for 10 minutes. Now this is a 3300. I flew this for 10 minutes, and it came back at 60%. So it's kind of hard to say. I mean, with a 3300, now, while I flew it for 10 minutes, I did not fly this battery very hard. I was flying very easy. And it's a 3300. It came back at like 55%. Now, this battery I flew, this was the third flight, I flew what I would call normal flying. I mean, I was out flying about an average of 70% throttle, well above stall speed. I was flying loops, I was flying rolls. This would be a normal flight. Unfortunately, it started to rain, and I only flew this battery for 7 minutes. So 7 minutes of normal flying, and it came back at 50%. So the moral of the story, I would say, is that 10 minutes is a good flight time for this thing. If you're flying 6S batteries, the other thing is this is a 3200, not a 33, and the first battery was a 3000. So batteries were all a little bit different, and the first flight I was flying pretty much just above stall speed and doing some trim work, and so unfortunately I don't think I got a real good grip for what to expect for battery life on this thing. But at the end of the day, I think 10 minutes is a solid number. With a 6S, you can expect about 10 minutes. I believe this is going to come in, a 3300, at 10 minutes of flight time is going to come in at about 30%, which to me is perfect. If you do that, you know what I mean, you're never going to hurt this battery, and you're going to get 10 minutes of flight time. You could probably go 11 or 12, but why? For another 2 minutes, you're really driving it down. And if you're flying inverted, higher throttle and stuff like that, you run a chance. And I like the 10-minute mark, so that's where I'm going to fly this thing, 10 minute. The last flight I didn't record. I tried to see what it got for vertical climb. So I was flying flat at about 75%, hit the elevator until it was climbing straight up, and then I went to 100%. And I want to say the airplane continued to ascend for about 75 to 100 feet before it started to stall. So it's not unlimited climb, but that's with this prop that came with it, which seems like a pretty shallow pitch. And I think you got to take the spinner off to get the actual pitch number. I believe this is a 12.6. So maybe if you change the prop out, you get unlimited vertical climb out of it. But with the prop that comes out on it, you're getting 10 minutes of flight time, and you're getting pretty good vertical climb. I think for the money, it's a terrific package. You know, overall, the fit and finish is great. I really like this. Is the underside of the wings. They checker pattern them, so I really like this. I like to put stripes on the wings, and unfortunately, a lot of these planes are coming with the bottom just white. I like to add stripes to them. This checker pattern was good enough. I like the checkering pattern on the underside of the wings. It's very definable from the top, and when you invert it or you're flying from the bottom, it's pretty easy to distinguish from below. So I really like the coating that they put on the airplane, and I don't feel like I need to stripe the undersides or really modify the coating in any way. It's really right out of the package, good to go. I have heard and could see that the subframing on the aircraft where the landing gear attaches is probably the aircraft's greatest structural vulnerability. This area is not real beefy. It's pretty much the same consistency as the rest of the aircraft. If I had to, something else I might mention is, you know, it's pretty much a flat airfoil. You know, this body doesn't have a lot of shape to it. And you've got your servos on the outside. But for the price of the aircraft, I think it's a terrific value. It's pretty much battery ready out of the package. I mean, this stuff's all connected. So I did 3 flights on it today. 10 minutes of flight time with a 6S 3200 range battery is what to expect. And I'm super happy with it. I mean, I bounced it on the landing on the second flight, and I didn't do any damage. So I'm not saying that this is like inadequate, but I could see where this could, you know, if you really did a hard landing with a larger battery pack, you could do some damage. But I bounced it 3 times on the second landing, and it held up with 6S 3200 in it. Yeah, good airplane, good flight. I'm happy with it. Can't wait to put a little more time on it. You can't really, I should have checked the motor and the speed control temperatures. I was going to do that after the 3rd flight, but it started to rain pretty hard, and I had to pack it up. I mean, my remote, I had my batteries out there and everything, so I didn't get a chance to look at temperature, but the maiden flight went good. Had a little trim issues, but mostly my own fault with the remote. I fixed them. The second flight, I had no trimming at all. Took it up. I did 0 change. You could take your hands off the controller and it would just fly straight. Put it through 2 flights. The 3rd flight, really flew it like, you know, pretty hard. Rolled it, looped it. So I'm happy with it. I think it's a good airplane. It's a good package, and I'm looking forward to trying out some inverted flight and some other things with it. So keep a lookout for future videos.